want to tell you that the most unlikely Resurrection Sunday sermon is based on the story of Thomas, because on the resurrection day, all of his friends, all of his buddies were there. Jesus showed up. How many of you out there have been gone when everybody else showed up or something, and they all told you about it, right? So they're all telling Thomas, what an amazing miracle, we saw him. Now here's where the real nitty gritty hits. I want to talk about resurrection hope today. Uh, I've had a message burning in me for the past 5 years called Hope Up. Hope is a gritty, dirt in your face program. Resurrection demonstrates it. So Thomas, John 20, Thomas says, "Oh, how nice for y'all. That's so beautiful. I'm so impressed. But I'm going to tell you where I'm at. Until I see the bloody body that I know he is, until I touch the nail prints, until I put my hand in his side, I'm not with you. I am not with you." And then 8 days later, 8 days later, Jesus shows up and says, "Thomas, peace." I could lay on the floor and cry right now, because the beauty of Thomas's pathos, the deep emotional struggle this dear brother is in, while for 8 days everybody else is telling him the beauty of what they saw and he hasn't seen it. And then on the eighth day, he sees it and he falls on his face and he says, "My Lord and my God." So this is what hope is about. This is enduring 8 days of not seeing. This is enduring 8 days of being haunted by what you want to see, but you don't want to see. And then he gets to see the bloody residue of the resurrection. So here's what I want to tell you about hope, ladies and gentlemen. Hope in a world that cultivates cynicism. Cynicism is when people don't believe in sincerity anymore. A culture that we live in that throws hope away like it's trash. That's cynicism. In a culture that's cultivating cynicism and selling fear, hope is a revolutionary act. Resurrection hope is a revolutionary act times two. We are being carried in this world. 1 Peter 3, chapter 1, verse 3 says, we were born again by the resurrection for hope. We were put on this earth for hope. And what I know about hope is that hope routinely puts me in Thomas's shoes. Hope routinely puts me in that outside, from the outside looking in, wishing I had the grasp of what everybody else had. But hope also demands of me something, to hang in there for 8 days. Do you see that? For 8 days, he's hanging in there. Don't put Thomas down. For 8 days, he's putting up with all these voices yapping and yakking about what they saw. And he's hanging in there in what? Hope. Hope is an emotion. I want you to know that. It is emotional. Hope is that which is subject to easy assault. Hope is also something that's calling us, though, to manage it forward, keep pushing it forward. I tell people all the time, if you don't have what you want in your hands, just keep leaning. Eventually, gravity is going to take over and it's going to pull you in. It's an emotion. And as such, hope gets treated like it's some kind of ephemeral, weak, spiderwebby, soft, and, petunia notions. But I'm here to tell you that hope looks like Jesus walking into that room with Thomas. That's what hope looks like. Hope looks a little bloody and beat up. Hope's got dirt on its face. Hope has some cobblestone still in his hair. Hope Hope's still got holes and scars. Hope that has endured into something that some of us are even afraid to reach for. I ran into a quote. I got to tell you, this one has carried me now the last month. When people speak of hope, they talk about this delicate, sweet, poetic thing. But I believe that's not hope. Hope has dirt in its face, blood on its knuckles. Hope has the grit of cobblestones in her hair, and just spat out a tooth and said, "Let's go again." That's hope. That's what hope looks like. I told somebody last week, I shared this message. I feel like I've spit out a whole mouthful of teeth. Sometimes, sometimes I wonder if I need a whole new set of teeth, and we'll go at it again. But hope spits out a tooth and says, let's go again. So here's, practically speaking, the noun for hope. Hope is used as a noun, which is a feeling. It fits as a noun when we say they searched in hope of finding their lost child. That's the noun of hope. They searched in hope of finding their lost child. Now, see, that's gritty hope. That's bloody knuckle hope. We've lost our child, but we hope to find that child. As a verb, hope is a want for something to happen. They were hoping to win the game. They were hoping in that search for their child. As a verb, in that get your feet on the floor and start moving toward what you want. So as a noun, it's a hope as a thing that we're walking with, but as a verb, it's walking it out. And it's terrifying, isn't it, to hope? Isn't it really? I mean, it will scare your pants off. You're gonna have to go get another pair of pants if you're gonna really hope. So here's Thomas. He's searching for what these brothers and sisters have, but he doesn't have it. But he stays. And 8 days. I don't know if we get that. 8 days. He's hanging in there. I mean, they got it within 3. He's on the outside looking in. And as such, Thomas was hoping to touch those scars. Hope is applied 3 ways: in us, through us. So first of all, in us, it's for us. Second of all, hope is applied through us. Now that's for others. I know you've done this. When I'm hopeless and I run into somebody else on the low side of hope, I'm going to do all I know how to give them hope, when inside of me, I'm just Thomasing this thing out. I'm just walking through my 8 days. And somebody comes to me in despair or in cynicism, my heart says, be still, hopelessness. I got a friend in front of me that needs hope. That's what I mean about bloody knuckle hope. That's what I mean about gritty hope, that will not give in to what has been pushing its way in, and then allow myself to live in the valley of disappointment. I'll get back to that in a moment. Alcoholics Anonymous talks about when we were dragging ourselves through the gutter, we were restless, irritable, and discontent. Alcoholics Anonymous talks about the restlessness that'll drive you to self-medicate, the irritability that drives you to self-medicate, the discontentedness that says, I gotta fog this out. I've got to put this in a fog where I can't feel this anymore. What is happening in that restlessness, that irritability, and that discontentedness is it's a fight against hope. It's a resistance against hope. So what do you do with restlessness? You rest. Is that too heavy for you? You know, Jesus took a nap. All his friends were up on top of the boat, but Jesus was sleeping. You know why he slept? Because he needed rest. We need rest. What do you do with irritability? Chill. Just be careful with that word chill. You know, sometimes you get punched in the face when you say chill. Somebody take a swing at you. Discontentedness. What do you do with discontentedness? Here's what I do with discontentedness. I stop, I put my feet flat on the floor, and I breathe. If I'm sensing that I don't have everything I want, which is most days, I stop and I breathe. And I remember I got lungs. I've got the ability to intake oxygen. How much did I pay for that oxygen? Not a dime. From the moment I left mama's womb, I've been sucking air for free. So when I'm discontent, it's time to find serenity. Let me adjust a little bit more here. Hope is a hell of a drug, baby. And we need it. And don't ever take anything else as a substitute for this beautiful drug that I call hope. You know, Bishop Nolan talked about blowing snow up here in Wisconsin. Well, you know, we've had more than our share of blowing some snow up here this year. I better move on because that'll take up time. I don't want to stay there too long. There's still snow outside, by the way. I mean, we had a 60-degree day yesterday, and there's still snow out there. That's why hope is gritty. Hope is a mind-altering experience. It calls us and it compels us toward thinking the unthinkable, seeing the unseeable, and doing the undoable. This is Thomas. 8 days of gritty, bloody, painful, dealing with his rejection, dealing with being on the outside looking in with all the family he's with. You know what that's like, being in a room where you just wish you could evaporate. You just wish you could go away, but something in you says stay. Something in Thomas said stay, don't run, hang on. Hope held Thomas's feet to the floor. I'm a Thomas. I own that brother with all my heart. I'm a Thomas. When I get people that come to me and say, "Ooh, I got the latest, greatest, brightest, beautiful, shiny thing," really, show me. I want to see it. Until I touch it, I don't believe it. And I don't mean that in the sense that I've given up on me. I just know me. So when people tell me, "Get your hopes up," or they say, "Don't get your hopes up," I'm in a wrestling match. When I was an 11-year-old kid in a dysfunctional family, my brother, who was an addict, said to me, about my 11th birthday, he said, "Don't get your hopes up for a birthday party." Well, at 11, I did not know what a birthday party was. I really didn't. We were too poor and we were too separated from that kind of luxury. When he said, "Don't get your hopes up for a birthday party," I thought, what's a birthday party? And so that word, those two words, those three words, "don't get your hopes up," don't get hope up, hung with me. And I'm still in a place at 70. I just turned 70 2 weeks ago. This is what 70 looks like. And I'm happy for it. Blessed I am. I have, all of these years since I was an 11-year-old boy, I have labored with this boy to get hope up. Get it up again. You see, when Jesus was butchered by the Romans and religion incorporated of his day, when he was butchered, I don't know that we really grasp the meat grinder that he went through. When you see the geography that he walked in that Passion Week that we just walked through this last week, the geography is nearly a marathon walk. And I mean geographically a marathon. From place to place to place to place, his body was spent with very little rest or nutrition. Then came the meat grinder. And in that pressing forward, here's what Paul said about that. Philippians 3:10, that I may know him and the power of his resurrection and the fellowship of his sufferings, being conformed to his death, in order that I may attain to the resurrection from the dead. That's Philippians 3:10 and 11. The contrast that Paul's given us there is, I want to be conformed to the meat grinder he walked through. I want my life to press through, to reach through and just go ahead and bloody my knuckles. I want to go ahead and be that guy with dirt on my face because I fought through all the way through my hopelessness. I did not yield to the pains of my body or the ineffectual, perhaps the ineffectual faith that I may have lived through, or even my ineffectual prayers that I prayed for how long. Paul says, I want to fight through all of that. I want to be conformed to his sufferings. This is this is something we don't always really want, is it? But it is certainly a part of the resurrection story. That's what Thomas is saying. I want to touch those wounds. I want to see this. I want to see this resurrection. And what Jesus knows is, my friend Thomas needs to see this. I'm back. I'm back, Thomas. That's what hope, that's the anatomy of hope. That's the pathway and the progress of hope. A doctor, an oncologist by the name of, where is his name? I've got it right here. Um, there it is. He wrote a book in college called The Anatomy of Hope. Dr. Jerome Groopman, terminal cancer patients under his care, he put them in a study, a blind study, and he determined to give hope to his worst patients in the cancer ward. He determined to teach them, talk to them, play music, hold their hand, infuse their mind with hope. The cancer patients he worked with over a few years' time survived at a greater rate than those who were not given the same dose of spiritual and mental hope. Hope genuinely is a hell of a drug. It will enter your body and it'll walk through every synapse of your brain. Hope will walk through every little splashy broken part of your heart. Hope's going to say, come on, buddy. Come on, sister. Come on, brother. Come on, sis. Come on, let's do it again. Let's try again. Let's not throw ourselves down. Let's pick it back up again. Keeping your hope up is not easy. You know that. Our disappointments will not yield quietly. How many of you have really noisy disappointments? I mean, noisy up here. Our disappointments will not yield quietly, but I've learned this old man with a 11-year-old boy alive inside. I have learned I will not lower my expectations to the level of my disappointments. I refuse to give hope into disappointment. Disappointment visits me, and I am learning, and I'm still learning to get reappointed as I face disappointment. Now, I want to wrap it up with this. Brene Brown. Have you all heard of this magnificent researcher? Brene Brown's written multiple books. Atlas of the Heart is one that I'm just walking through right now. It's an encyclopedia of feelings and why we feel what we feel and how did we get there. What's the map to that feeling? She says, and this is invaluable. She says there are too many people among us who decide to live disappointed rather than risk the feeling of disappointment. Let me say that again. There are too many among us who just say, that's it. I'm just going to live disappointed. Cynicism, you win. Fear, you win. All y'all lying voices in my culture, you win. I'm just gonna sip coffee and stay home. Brene says the danger of that is that then we have surrendered our mind, will, and emotions to disappointment. And while we may live decades longer, we are emotionally deadened without the beauty and the significance of hope. And feeling hope. Listen, feeling disappointment. That's entirely good. That's why we weep with those who weep. That's why we groan with those who are groaning. When disappointment slaps us, just grab somebody and say, I'm here with you. I'm going to hang on to you. But I got bad news for you. I'm not going to let you go until we get past this feeling of disappointment. I think that's the beauty of the rest of the disciples around Thomas. I'm pretty sure Thomas had his sandals pointed at a door a day or two in those 8 days, right? I'm pretty sure a few of the fellas and gals around him said, Thomas, don't run. Don't run, baby. I'm pretty sure somebody may have grabbed him and said, Thomas, hang on, buddy. Here's the closing 3 points. I've had three points. This is a triple double or something. We experience hope when we set goals. And there again, hope says, I got to have a goal. Cynicism says, I'm sick of setting goals. Set a goal. Go ahead and put it out there. Talk to somebody about it. Does this goal seem realistic? Does this goal have the beauty of love or faith in it? Does this goal connect me to other people? So number one, set a goal reasonably. Number two, figure out how you're going to achieve those goals. How am I going to get to goal 1, 2, or 3? Give yourself a generous timeline. See, we Americans have a nasty habit of spending 10 days on achieving our goal and saying, I tried. I, Stop trying. Just start training. There's a difference between trying and training. Training says I'm going to run a marathon. Trying says, gosh, I sure wish I could run a marathon someday. That's just thinking. But when I'm training, I'm extending my run from a 2 mile to a 3 mile to a 5 mile to a 10 mile, whatever else it takes over time. And number three, this is the one that grabs me and hangs on to me. And this is the Thomas story. And I'm going to close with this. When you reach for hope, make sure you set goals, make sure you set some kind of achievable means to get to that goal. And number three, sustain agency, which is to say, get people around you who are agents of hope, whatever their calling or their professionalism is. Have agency. Believe with other people for their hopes. Find other people who say to you, hey, Sister Thomas, hey, Brother Thomas, let's fight through this. See, that's why Bishop Nolan and I are such good friends. And that's why we've walked through a quarter of a century together. Because we've both looked at each other and said, I am done. Stick a fork in me. I'm done. And we both said to each other, don't quit. Don't let go. In fact, Nolan said to me one time, go back and give it another go. Well, I had one go I wanted to give him. Don't talk to me like that. I've been giving this a go. But he was right. He was absolutely right. And it's a whole nother story. So set realistic goals. Figure out how you're going to achieve the goals. And number three, sustain agency in your life. People who are agents of hope along with you. I think the beauty of Thomas's story is that whether he wanted them or not, he had agency. He was in that room. And I'm hoping that for the rest of the fellows and gals in that room, they learn to just be quiet. Thomas has heard all the stories from us he needs to hear. Let's wait on Jesus, right? That's agency. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to say it with me. Hope up. Get your hopes up and ride them up as high as you know how and sustain them like a kite in the wind currents. And I know you, you're like me. There's a lot of tears for hopes that have been beat up. Let's get our hopes back up again. Thanks for letting me be a resurrection agent with you today.